Well, it's no surprise to anyone that my only job is to sit and watch the weather, and then we're talking about some of those geological conditions where up there in Wyoming, yes, for our Wyoming viewers, that includes you, Mom and Dad, we're starting to see a lot of that thermal activity push across Biscuit Basin up there in Yellowstone, while down here in Concho Valley, we're seeing our own set of geological problems. Talking about that 4.9 magnitude earthquake, of course, big shout out to Bobby Martinez for letting me know what's going on as we take a closer look. Of course, we're looking at the temperature change over the last 24 hours as that rainfall finally dries up here. But down near Llano, they're looking at about 33,000 cubic feet per second. That's some pretty heavy flooding across that river state area as it makes its way through their watershed. Temperature change over the last 24 hours went from those 70s all the way up into that upper 80s. Of course, fighting with that 90-degree mark, 20-degree run, and we're cooling off right now. We'll see if we don't drop back down into those mid-60s by tonight. That high pressure pretty strong right now. 88 in San Angelo. Everybody else joining us in a combination of those lower 80s right now. As we look across the entire Concho Valley, we're looking for 10 degrees right now. It's looking like 4, if not 5 across the region. 88 up there in Robert Lee and Ballinger, while all the way down there in Sonora and Junction, they're at 83. Things have jumped up about 20 degrees from yesterday. That's a pretty strong cold front making its way through as those winds are starting to push out of the north. Humidity indices and dew points have dried way off. 30s up there to the north, 60s down there to the south, but everybody else is hovering around those 60s and those 50 dew points, if not holding on to 170 down there in Junction. They saw a good amount of thunderstorm activity this morning before things sort of dried out, but by this evening they could still be holding on to some rain. We're going to watch a pretty strong transportation of moisture make its way up to the northeast. This is the circulation I have my eye on as we make our way closer towards those Olympics. And of course, Margie Jackson coming in and letting us know Melon Fest is going to be this Saturday. It's delicious. I definitely had an early preview with it. And of course, watching that high pressure push back in by next week where we could be pushing up into those triple digits. Here's the pocket of dry air that's going to lift all that moisture across East Texas, then take aim towards the northeast while we're watching another system make its way across the Rocky Mountains up there in Wyoming and across the entire Four Corners. We take it into the moisture tracker where we will keep an eye on this circulation around the east part of Mexico make its way up into the east part of Texas and then move off towards the east where you are watching that cold front still push down with another one off towards the west that could knock it out of the way. Of course, looking at the severe weather outlook for today, pretty homogeneous, quite a mess right now as we're seeing some of those pockets of dry, pretty organic shapes right now. And we take a good look at the satellite. There's the moisture we're keeping our eye on to the south, but everything's really calming down unless you're out there in parts of California, if not Nevada. And we take you down into the Concho Valley because things are going to be pretty quiet for the rest of the next week as we make our way closer towards those Olympics. You're going to keep a good eye on some of this moisture off towards the eastern part of Texas. Around those coastal regions, you're finally watching that moisture push out. Here comes our circulation down from the south. Explosive convectivity around the Gulf Coast. A good circulation makes its way near Louisiana. Another ejection of moisture makes its way around. And then as we get towards Thursday, things calm down. Could see some isolated rain shower activity here in the Concho Valley, really sticking towards the east as a residual effects of that air displacement. So tonight, dropping way down into those 80s, excuse me, down from those 80s. Looking at a pretty calm night. Then tomorrow, making a good 30-degree run up into those 90s. Of course, let's be ready for some of that hot weather. As we get closer towards the Olympics, things are going to continue to stay in those mid-90s as well into the weekend. And then by the 4th week of July, if not the 5th one, as we wrap up this pretty hot July, we could be pushing into those triple digits with those lows following the same trend from those 60s all the way up into those mid-70s. Stay tuned on more of the break. You're watching KSAN News at 5.